Good afternoon, everyone. If you could take your seats, we're about ready to start. Well, thank you, everyone. It's good to see you back again. Start of a new year. This is the January 16th, 2026 SANDAG Public Safety Committee meeting is now called to order. And I'd like to ask our interpreter to walk us through how to access our interpretation services for today's meeting. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Announcement from interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, World, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis then interpretation and then choose your language. Finally, click on Mute Original Audio to not hear the original Spanish law in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenas tardes, aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación globo terráqueo y seleccione Spanish Español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region has historically faced injustice, and we acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and the homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups, the Kumeyaay, Tigueño, Luiseño, Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG Argist community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now, would you please join in the Pledge of Allegiance, Director Ray? Thank you, everyone. But before we start the meeting, I'll ask the clerk to confirm that we have a quorum. Cami?
Good afternoon, Chair. Yes, we have a quorum with the members present.
Excellent. Today, we'll start the meeting with non-agenda public and member comments. Due to a large agenda and a nice activity towards the end of the meeting, we want to ensure we get all items that we're allowing 1 minute for all public comments. Cami, do we have any public speakers on this item?
Yes, we have 2 in-person public speakers and 4 online. We will start with Karita Javier, and she'll be followed by Cesar Javier.
Good afternoon. I am Purita Javier of District City of San Diego, senior with existing medical condition and victim of ceramic kiln next door since 1984. We made or have been voicing our community concern, but for some reason, it has never been addressed since June 2021. The impact of our health and safety is real. We are hurt physically, emotionally, and financially as we find solution of the county air pollution, central city, and even at SANDAG to this
Thank you, Ms. Javier. Your time has expired. Caesar, you can go ahead.
Thank you, SANDAG, Cesar, and Purita again. We're aiming for a 100% attendance. As we journey in our twilight years, if only to learn how our community issue of toxicity in a residential zone could be solved. For 5 years, I will ask you this. If you're hurt physically, mentally, and financially, what word, what body language would you exude if only to gain sympathy and support to solve our community issue? Our city has failed us for 5 years, knocking at their door. The 11 elected officials, we cry, we shout, we pray. They're not doing their homework. We elected them. They are just there seated, smiling like the mayor, asking us whether it's civil or criminal case.
Thank you, Caesar. Your time has expired. We will now move to our online speakers. We'll start with Andrea Ebbing, and then it will be followed by phone number ending in 3731. Andrea, go ahead.
Hi, this is Andrea Ebbing, and I am also, Cesar Javier definitely summed it up. You know, we are victims of horrific things that have taken place in this county and city and gone unchecked. And I'm really asking everybody, this is the Public Safety Committee, you know, our Commission on Police Practices is understaffed. They've never been able to complete a real investigation because they keep on getting thwarted and they keep on getting sort of dismantled. And I think people are very disheartened at the fact that there's no accountability whatsoever in our law enforcement world. And I will start with Summer Stephan, our district attorney. Without prosecution of violent crimes and the recovery of abducted children, what is her purpose? You know, the consumer protection fraud thing, she can't be trusted with 25 cents. Why would we trust her with 200 million? Are you serious? No way. The Child Abduction Recovery Unit falsely billed 3 million. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to phone number ending in 3731. Go ahead.
Hey, it's Truth taking a break from a pizza lunch to call in. And FYI, the audio of the pledge cut out. That's wrong. This is also the second public safety meeting in a row where I must say a San Diego police officer was caught punching yet another suspect in the face. Scott Wall needs to reprimand and retrain these officers because things are getting worse. And also on the news, Scott said he was treating each of the anti-ICE protests individually. Unfortunately, most of the anti-ICE, anti-law enforcement, anti-America events are orchestrated by several communist fronts, as in they're not individual, nor do they even recognize the term individual as they are collectivists. We need people in office to start denouncing this violence against all law enforcement, because right now, most California politicians are sending a pro-hate and pro-violence message. Another big issue going on is reckless driving. Drivers running red lights, drivers not stopping for pedestrians, hit-and-run drivers, hire drunk drivers, and pedestrians and bicyclists who don't care about their own lives. SANDAG needs to be discussing the stats and engaging in robust educational outreach. Now back to pizza time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to Blair Beekman. Go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. We're trying to come out of a time of pretty violent warfare across the world. I hope here at the local level we can learn to demilitarize and de-escalate our ICE tactics and practice humanity. Trump really needs to learn that and back off his immigration stuff right now, just a little. I think it would be a really peaceful, decent gesture to do. You're also working on UASI issues today at the Bay UASI up in the Bay Area. I was interested, Mario at the BOD meeting last week talked about ideas of philanthropic funding for the future of SANDAG projects and stuff. An awesome idea that Bay UASI is also considering. What amazed me so much about that idea is that SANDAG really is trying to work towards an open, public, accessible process, and they can do all this funding work in front of the open public space. Or in Bay UASI, they're having trouble with public dialogue and those sort of accountability practices. Good luck what they can learn from SANDAG at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes our public comment.
Thank you, Cami. Now, do we have any non-agenda member comments? And this is an opportunity for agency announcements or information to be shared. Yes, Chief.
Thank you, Chief, or Chair Musgrove. Paul Conley, Chief of Coronado, representing the Argus Chiefs and Sheriffs Management Committee. Earlier this month, the Chiefs and Sheriffs Management Committee met and received routine updates from Argus on ongoing regional initiatives. As part of its December's meeting, the committee also reviewed the Argus UASI grant proposal and approved all 5 submissions. Overall, the discussion focused on coordination, planning, and ensuring Argus continues to support member agencies in a consistent and responsible manner. Argus will continue this work in collaboration with its governance committee and partner agencies. And that concludes my
Excellent.
comments.
Thank you, Chief. Argus has been the backbone of collaboration in this county and law enforcement for decades. So thank you very much for that and that continuation. Any other comments? Yes, Jessica.
I just wanted to report out to everybody that we did fill our 5th council member seat, and we have a new interim city manager coming in. We'll be announcing that person on Tuesday.
Fantastic. Good news from Levin Grove. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. I'll now hand it over to Grace Mino for a SANDAG update.
Good afternoon, PSC Chair, Vice Chair, and PSC members. My name is Grace Mino. I'm your Senior Director of Data Science and Information Technology. I hope you enjoyed the holidays and welcome back to our first meeting in January. Just wanted to give you an update that the Board of Directors will be receiving an Argus 101 at next week's meeting. The SANDAG board also approved the 2025 regional plan and its EIR in December. This was the first time that safety was included as a goal. And as a reminder, SANDAG is required by state and federal law to update this long-term planning document every 4 years. Also, the Low Sand Rail Line will be closed next weekend for absolute work window. It'll be the Del Mar Bluffs 5 and Bataquitos Lagoon double track projects. All rail service will be closed on Saturday, January 24th through Sunday, January 25th. And the SANDAG main office and the Customer Service Center will be closed on Monday, January 19th for Martin Luther King Day. And I'll pass it back to the chair.
Thank you, Grace. And before we get into the agenda, check with our director from Argus. Tony, do you have any updates for us?
I know the incident, with the intent of giving us more time later, no, I'm past today.
Thank you, sir. Great. If there are no member comments, we'll move on to consent. Cami, are there any public comments on this item?
We have one online public comment for this item. Blair Beekman, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman. To quickly first comment, good luck at what we can do in San Diego. I think we can do some important good work about de-escalation and demilitarization of ICE work in the future of San Diego area. Good luck on those efforts. I wanted to comment that if I wanted to comment on the previous item, is that now an agendized item as it was at the audit committee this morning? If you do that at SANDAG, that should allow for public comment in and of itself. And it's a great feature that you offered at the audit committee meeting, and I hope you can do that for the future of committee meeting process. It makes it much more clear and understandable. It's a better way to work. I'm not prepared. I had important public comment for the consent calendar, and I've gotten more where I need to be. So I'm going to pass on the remainder of public comment time. Thank you for your consideration and listening.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Cami. So we do have the approval of meeting minutes. Are there any member comments? Corrections, additions, amendments? Fantastic. No objections. May I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Chair, my apologies. That happened very quickly. Can you please let me know who the motion and the second
Sure.
was from?
That was from Supervisor Anderson and the second was from the Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, please go ahead and enter your vote on your voting clicker for electronic recording.
Thank you, Chair, and that passes with the members present.
Thank you, Cami. Okay, let's move on then to item 4. Argus staff will present the proposal to pursue FY26 UASI grant proposals. Argus, Director Ray, Caroline, the floor is yours.
This chair is taller than my last one. Good afternoon, board and honorable members and visitors that are here. Today, we come before you to seek your recommendation for ARGIS to pursue 5 grants. There is an official process according to our SANDAG Board Policy 26. The first part is we have to get the approval for recommendation by the chiefs and sheriffs, and thank you, that happened last Wednesday. The second phase is we have to obtain the approval from this board, the Public Safety Committee, for the recommendation to go forward. The third phase would be we have to get the approval of SANDAG CEO, which cannot happen until this body has approved. And then if the grant is awarded, later on, we'll come back and report to the board that the award has been awarded to us. It'll be in the form of a budget board motion that we have at that time. And the grants that we're applying for now would be, the funds would be available in approximately 18 months when it would be served. So we're planning ahead when we do these things. Today, my management team is going to share 5 proposals that are funded by the Federal Urban Area Security Initiative, or UASI, and these grants are provided by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. The City of San Diego's Office of Emergency Services manages these FEMA grants for the San Diego region on behalf of the Department of Homeland Security. All UASI grants have to have a nexus to terrorism or terrorism prevention, and the project proposal guidance for fiscal year 26 states all UASI funds must be used for may be used for other activities as long as the dual use quality and nexus to terrorism is clearly demonstrated. UASI funds are intended for regional approaches to overall preparedness and should adopt regional response structures whenever possible. Now, because the core mission of ARGIS is to collect and share data information regionally for investigation and analysis, we qualify for these urban area security initiatives. And also, it should be noted that ARGIS has been using UASI grants since the early 2000s to support our operations. And for the past 5 or so years, ARGIS is also part of the vetting process for the region with these UASI grants. So with that, I'm going to pass off to my team.
Thank you, Tony. My name is Noah Lithuvong. I'm the manager of regional information systems at ARGIS. The first grant that we will be covering is the ARGIS Regional Trainer, with the primary role of providing consistent training on ARGIS applications, both mobile and desktop. This position also ensures that systems and applications are used effectively for daily operations, investigations, and crime analysis. This centralized regional approach eliminates the need for redundant intra-agency, in-agency training and ensures that this regional approach ensures that training is consistent across all the agencies and all the region. Training will be provided in person in a classroom environment or online. This position will also be developing a learning management system, LMS, and maintaining that system so users can take a application-specific or role-specific on-demand courses. We have requested $150,000 to continue one existing full-time regional training position, and that is all for the regional training grant. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Caroline Stevens. I'm a principal research analyst here at ARGIS, and I've been on the team for about 10 years. Today, I'm going to take you through our cloud-based data platform project, which we will be requesting funds for with your permission to UASI. This is going to be our transition out of an old, antiquated application called Cognos that's provided by IBM. And right now, the support for that application is not great. So what we want to do is push all of the regional crime data into a cloud-based Power BI space. And to do this, it's pretty costly and there are a lot of steps involved. So this is why we're going out for grant funding to do it. Basically, what the platform is going to do is we're going to build a data model behind it that's going to enable crime analysts and officers throughout the region to easily visualize crime, arrest, and citation data all in one place, not just their own agency's data, but the entire regional set of data. In the future, we hope to also bring some probation data here and other data sources that we have, but right now we're going to focus on our police contact data. This is going to be a great way for agencies to not just look at what's happening within their own jurisdiction, but just outside of there, for agencies that they share beats and zip codes with, right? So we are requesting $144,000 in funding. This is going to be about $10,000 a month in cloud services. And then an additional dollars are going to go towards Power BI Pro licensing for super users in the region to be able to come into this space and build out whatever they need in a dashboard. So, and this has been a great cooperation with our Sheriff's Department because they've secured the Gov Cloud space that all of this data is going to go into. So they've gotten that space ready, and now we're ready to lift our data there as well. Any questions? Okay, moving on.
Real quickly, Carolyn, you mentioned super users. Are we talking about the larger agencies who might?
Yes.
Okay, greater
Yeah,
impacts.
super
Thank you.
users within each police agency.
Thanks.
Okay, next I want to talk about our entity resolution product, and this is a little bit more vague. So I'm going to try and explain it well, but basically, right now we have an application called Surfers. It's our state, regional, federal enterprise retrieval system, and that helps police officers in the field locate people, places, and things. However, we just did officer focus groups in the field, and I spoke to 53 different law enforcement professionals in the region, and I asked them, hey, what's working for you, what's not working for you, what feels difficult? And what they told me is that the returns are a little bit slow, and they could be better organized and they could be better packaged for them to work more efficiently in the field off of a mobile device. And that's something that Argus provides, right? We provide all of our platforms in desktop and mobile. So this is going to allow officers to get the most relevant returns in the fastest time possible, and it's going to modernize the Surfers application to do what our officers needed to do, especially in light of the fact that we have so many agencies moving to a real-time crime and information model, and we want to support that with this application. This was one of our most requested products to develop out in the field on top of the products that we already have developed. So we are requesting $420,000 roughly to do this project. $270,000 of that is going to go towards consulting services. We're going to bring in a Python cloud developer to come in and develop the product on top of our existing infrastructure. And then the remaining $150,000 is for cloud services because this is all happening in a cloud space. Any questions?
Honorable Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Kurt Smith, Public Safety Technology Program Manager here at Argus. I'm a retired annuitant working part-time on special projects and GIS, Geographic Information Systems. We all make decisions with maps. In the public safety realm, we use mapping to connect data to decisions all the time. Fire has done a great job with not just achieving the web-based mapping that we also see and benefit from within policing, but of driving those standards for how their fire analysts use mapping all the time to develop geospatial intelligence about the evolving threat for wildland fires and other threats that they're responsible for. On the law enforcement side, we've done a great job with the web technology, but behind the scenes, our crime and intelligence analysts now kind of have some gaps in the tool sets that they use. There's inconsistencies, even though we're all using the same kind of geographic information systems, the versions, the tool sets, and how those individual analysts connect to data varies department by department. So we propose to implement an enhanced geospatial intelligence platform for the region for use by analysts at the Sheriff's Department, the municipal police departments, San Diego Harbor Police Department, and the SDLECC. In doing that, it extends our Argus cloud transformation, standardizes and brings a consistent set of tools and data connections to those analysts so that across the region, as they're working on their day-to-day work for their departments, but also for things that may start in any jurisdiction, go to the next jurisdiction, or evolve to the entire region, we've got a cornerstone foundational consistent set of geospatial intelligence tools for those analysts to use. We're asking for $220,000, roughly, a little bit less, to do that. And in doing so, that'll fund this platform in the Argus environment for 2 years and then sustain from there. Any questions?
Real quickly, is there a potential to interface with fire? They've been using this for I want to say decades now to
better address their threats. If a situation arises, and it has in the past, where fire may be the lead agency, but we're there to support law enforcement, is there a way to merge them together as an overlay?
There is through doing this. Right now, we kind of move at the speed of email. Or if there's a regional disaster, the file sharing that occurs kind of at the EOC or web EOC level. What we're proposing here is to, within the ARGIS environment, that CGIS secure environment, establish one consistent place for those analysts to be able to use the software. The key to that then is they can collaborate with each other, so there's a single product that can then be shared portal to portal with fire or with emergency management in a way that still preserves the CGIS secure side. And that concept also extends to the kind of the ARGIS environment to the SD-LECC security level as well. But we haven't had that before in the region, so this is new and different work in terms of organizing the standard technologies that we use. And I think when we establish, or we believe when we establish this cornerstone, that we're going to be able to draw those lines and then sustain them. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, Kurt, very much for being here today. Okay, I'm getting ahead of my game here.
I think there is. Is the ARGIS presentation done?
Is that complete, Director, or is there more? But wait, there's more?
There's one more. One more? I heard yes in that, by the way. I heard yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Our last grant is our disaster recovery program. And we're asking $350,000. That's $100,000 for professional services, $250,000 for SaaS or software as a service, or the actual cost of operating in the cloud. The goal of this project is to integrate ARGIS data protection solution within the CSSA cloud environment for a fully automated disaster recovery solution, meaning that if when our cloud operation, any single or whole part of it goes down, we automatically can have it back up again in a very short time, going between seconds, minutes, hopefully not hours, so that the users would not know that there's something down, and all of your agents, officers, whoever they are, can continue to utilize the system. This is actually the second phase of our disaster recovery program. The first phase, we started with a 2004 grant, and that is securing our on-premise operation for if something were to go down, it would stay up, and we wouldn't be out of service for a month or two or three trying to find out what happened. It would be immediate. In this project, because it's large, we're going to have to make efforts to adjust or relate to things like to move from on-premise to the cloud. We have two physical data centers here in San Diego and also in Phoenix. We have three environments: a production environment where the people actually use the information. We have a test environment and a development environment. We have a number of physical host services. We have approximately 200 virtual host servers. We have a number of storage arrays. We have dozens of firewalls, routers, and switches to support the inter-hour connectivity to all of these systems. We have approximately 60 agency circuits providing access to our customers and our customer service agencies and their 5,000 plus users. We have several virtual private network appliances for on-demand connectivity, and we have approximately 1,000 mobile devices that are used. And we're going to have to set up the network so it can work with all of these things virtually seamless back and forth. If successful, this new cloud solution combined with the current on-premise solution will function in unison, so we can ensure all of our systems are fully protected and have automated recovery and failover, regardless of where the failure comes from. And I should note that in ARGIS contracts, whenever possible, talking about the professional services, we not only pay someone to do something that we can't do, because ARGIS does have a number of developers and network engineers, but if we can't, we hire somebody. And in the contract, we put in, they teach us how to do what they did for us so that we don't have to pay them maintenance contracts afterwards. We try to make it just a one-time operation, and then we manage it ourselves. It's not possible with every contract, but in most of the contracts, that's what we try to do. So is there one more slide? So regionally, we're asking for just about $1.2 million for 5 different projects. Here they are up there. And if you have any questions at all regarding these projects, we'd be happy to answer them right now for you.
Real quickly, is this real time, or is there a interval data dump at night every so many hours, or is this ongoing? I know real time is very expensive and takes up a lot of bandwidth.
Well, I know it's real time. I want to explain this properly because I'm subbing for the person that's not here right now. But when any of your agency personnel add data into the system, it automatically goes in. And when any of your people query data, they get the most up-to-date data at that moment, whenever it was. So we don't do data dumps, it's 724 as it's entered, it's received and it goes right into the system. When we do maintenance, if we shut the system down for 5 minutes, we try to do that early on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning or a Monday morning when the traffic is incredibly low. We'll put out a notification and then we'll do some upgrades and open it back up again. But that would be the only time we do a set time frame. Everything else is real time, 100% active.
Okay, so in the event we needed a backup, it would go down, we would have all the data up to the point where the system went down before retrieval. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the
Okay.
systems that we're creating would you would just, one side would switch off, the other side would come on, and we would continue on as if nothing happened.
Okay, thank you.
So this is where we're looking for your recommendation.
Okay. Emma, do you have any public comments on this item?
Yes, we have one public comment in person and one online. Cesar Javier, you can go ahead.
Cesar and Purita, honestly, we support this program. As we modernize in all aspects, technology in, shall we say, protecting lives is paramount. And this is indicated in the programs of the city of San Diego, where a large chunk of money is poured into the police department of the city. Large chunk. Why? You know the answer. Without peace, tranquility, progress would be impaired. That's our analysis as public. We are hurt and we give you our full support. Thank you, SANDAG. I hope our problem shall be solved soonest with ARGIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. Blair Beekman, you may go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. This report presentation seemed to offer that you are actually tailoring yourselves to better give information and ideas to state and federal agencies or in data collection. There was a serious newspaper article recently in San Diego about questioning this, and that there's a problem going on with ARGIS with this that needs to be acknowledged and openly addressed. I hope you can do that here, and what exactly you will be doing in the future of data sharing with federal agencies, and how ARGIS has a really important job, I think, to create a standard, a really important standard of how we share information. Good luck in really working on that. And you know, the city of Oakland is actually working towards ending their flock program, and city of San Diego is soon following. So, you know, they're trying to do something very well principled here. And you guys need to follow those good principles. And I'd like to hear more conversations today. What are your good principles? What are you going to follow as best practices? Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our public comment.
Fantastic. Do we have any member comments? Nothing at all. Seeing no hands. Okay. I will entertain a motion then to approve item 4.
Motion to approve.
And we have a second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Would please go ahead and enter your vote with your clicker.
Chair, can you let me know who that motion and second was from?
The vice chair made the motion, second by Lemon Grove representative. East
Thank you.
County. Yeah, Jessica. Thank you.
And that passes.
Fantastic. Congratulations to the ARGIS team. One more hurdle and off to the next. Okay, we will now move on to item number 5. Officer Herring from the San Diego Police Department will give us a presentation on the San Diego County Crime Stoppers and Students Speaking Out program. Officer Herring, we're excited to hear your presentation and thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you for having me. Special thanks to Director Ray for the invitation to be here. Some of you in here have already seen this program before. It hasn't changed much, but for those who haven't, I'm glad to be here. We can explain a little bit about Crime Stoppers, how it keeps the community safe, and how we can continue to do so. Also going to explain our Student Speaking Out program, which people are a little less familiar with. My name is Mark Herring. I'm a San Diego police officer. I'm assigned full-time to San Diego County Crime Stoppers. which is a nonprofit organization. I'm joined with my partner, my only other law enforcement partner, Deputy Emilio Castellero, who couldn't be here today. He's doing what any good deputy does on their day off, and that's work court overtime. So you got just me today. I'm just going to go over a few slides here. We just turned a little over 40 years old. We were started by a group of concerned citizens back in '84, mimicked after the first Crime Stoppers program, which was done in the '70s in Albuquerque. What we think of today is very common, but if you go back many years, you as a San Diego County resident, let's say you have you think your neighbors, something's going on, something's up. You know, if you call 911, you know, if you call the non-emergency line of your local police department, somewhere your name's going to get stored. So there's no anonymity. So the concern was that people out there have information on, especially on unsolved crimes, but they fear retaliation. There's many fears out there. So that's kind of how Crime Stoppers got reported or got created. And again, we're a nonprofit organization. A lot of people, you know, when they hear the words Crime Stoppers on the news, they kind of think maybe it's just an arm or segment of law enforcement. And though I am law enforcement, and so is my partner, it is truly a nonprofit organization separate from law enforcement that is essentially not funded on our own. Again, our makeup similar to other nonprofit organizations. We have a president, 25-member board of directors, program manager, and myself and Emilio. We work with so even though I'm San Diego PD and my partner is the Sheriff's Department, we work with every federal, state, and local law enforcement agency in the county to help solve crimes and keep this community safe. And ultimately, for us to get involved, I'll get into this in a little bit later. For us to help out, and when I mean help out, investigators of any law enforcement agency in the county can come to us with an open case. And as long as the crime happened within the county and it's a felony, we can get involved. Let's see here. So I carry 2 phones on me at all times, and so does my partner. We're responsible, again, for every agency in the county. We're also, I'll get into this in a little bit too, we're also responsible for all 42 school districts in the county as well for our sister program. We get information. When I describe my job to folks who ask me what I do for a living other than being a police officer first, is I move information. We get anything and everything to, I think, my neighbor's selling drugs to Johnny's posting online that he's going to bring a gun to school tomorrow and shoot up the school, and everything in between. So we're constantly moving information, vet the information, do our best to make sure there's enough there for investigators, because the last thing we want to do is send off a tip to your departments and your investigators not have enough information to work with or not treat it serious. So we do our best to make sure that information is there as much as they can do with it. So when a tipster reaches out to us, I know everybody has cell phones, but not many people make phone calls these days, especially younger folks. There is still a 24/7 tip line. It's actually a service we pay for. I don't answer the phones, luckily. There's a service we pay for that does that. It's retired dispatchers, and they work with many Crime Stoppers outfits throughout the country. So that's 24/7 hotline. Most of the way we get our information is through our app, which is if you go to the App Store, it's free to download. It's P3 Tips. You see the icon there on the screen. And then also through our website, sdcrimestoppers.org, there's a link to submit tips. And I say this, and I mean this truthfully. The information that we get is 100% anonymous. That's the biggest difference between somebody contacting maybe a police department directly versus contacting us. A lot of people think it's because we offer reward money, which we do. Half of our rewards are never picked up to get approved by the board of directors. So that just kind of leads you to believe the people here just want to do the right thing. They just want to get the information to the investigators, but they also don't want to be dragged into court. They don't want to have their potentially family member's house vandalized, anything retaliation. So as we get the tips, we move the information to the respective departments. So in our tip software, we have about 150 different recipient groups. So if we get a tip, let's say on a homicide that happened in the city of San Diego last night, that tip in a matter of a couple buttons gets pushed to the San Diego homicide unit. Some smaller departments, any tip within that city gets sent to amount of representatives by that department. So the way the software we use, everything is very flawless. And the good thing about, a great thing actually about this county, and this is the only place I've been in law enforcement, but my understanding compared to maybe other large metropolitan counties throughout the country is that the law enforcement agencies here get along very well. So the nice thing about Emilio and myself is there are no barriers. So even though he's sheriff's and I'm San Diego PD, when we move information, it's very flawless. There's no, well, you're San Diego PD, this is not in your city. There's none of that because we know, bad guys don't stop at city limits. So in the time we've been around, we've helped solve over 6,500 felony cases. And again, you see the list there. Very proud of that. 167 homicides. Two of those was just recently last month. So the program works really well. I would ask for the heads of law enforcement in here. One, if I'm being honest, I would say the biggest issue with our program is that we're actually underutilized. I know that in law enforcement, especially at the investigative level, there's a lot of turnover. A lot of people have retired. So we could actually help out and do more cases. I'm actually asking for more work, but I've seen the great success of the program. So the best thing we can do is do an actual law enforcement specific presentation to your investigators. That's usually the most useful. So if you have like a quarterly investigative meeting where all of your investigators are in one room at one time, we asked that, I think everybody here has my contact information in those pamphlets, that you just email us and say, hey, we're meeting on, the second Wednesday of February. If you're available, please come this time and date. And we can do as quick as 15 minutes, maybe as long as 30-minute presentation to your investigators, just to show how easy it is to work with us. Again, it's a free program. Doesn't cost anybody anything. And most of the information we need has already been done by our investigators. So our sister program that we have is called Students Speaking Out, which was started back in the 90s. We found that when we tried marketing Crime Stoppers program to the schools in the county, there was a lot of pushback because parents, PTAs, teachers don't really exactly like the word crime in any program involving kids, which is understandable. So we made a separate program, but the same nuts and bolts apply. When information is moved in this program, it still comes to myself and Emilio, and it's still handled in the same way. It has its own website. You'll see in your brochure there, studentspeakingout.org. And the same anonymity applies when students or anybody for that matter. I think we get a lot of tips from school workers as well on stuff going on school campuses. This is just kind of our, again, nuts and bolts. We have a proven record of getting involved. I'll give a recent example. So I was gone last week, but Emilio did a case last week out of, I helped out with the Valley Center Sheriff's Station. Gentleman going around with a knife trying to attack kids. It's a, pretty violent case. We did a Crime Stoppers media release, worked with the Sheriff's Valley Center Station, and I think within a matter of hours, we got tips on, we put a photo of the guy out to the public using the media. We have a great relationship with the media who advertises the cases for us. Obviously, if we didn't have their support, our program wouldn't be able to be as successful. But in a matter of hours, we got multiple tips naming the same person. That information is given to the investigators, and then they still have to do their police work. But at least now they know who they're looking for. And that person was taken into custody, and the community is now safer. So it just shows how quick things work. On our Students Speaking Out, again, we get anything and everything, and we're available in all 42 school districts in San Diego County. Just like anything else, just like police departments, that some use us more than others, some rarely use us. The same thing with the school districts. Some people aren't quite aware of us. There's a large turnover, obviously, in the in schools as well. Again, we get everything from their vaping in the boys' room second period right now to again, Johnny's going to bring a gun to school tomorrow. Since this program's been in place, we've recovered 16 actual firearms from San Diego County school campuses. Most people don't know that because, again, that's something, potentially 16 school shootings that never happened. Again, the news isn't going to report something that never happened, but we know about it and we're very proud of that. So that program is good. That program, again, if you have school resource officers similar to the investigative lamps, if they have meetings, we would love to come and talk to them about this program. We have material, posters, brochures, anything they can post around campuses, just to get kids to do the right thing and keep their campuses safe. We also have, currently it's at 20%. It seems like that seems to be raising. We're getting more and more, my friends posting online strange things, something's not right. And ironically, those and the weapons that Johnny's going to bring down to school tomorrow never come in during normal business hours. So again, myself and Amelia, we have 2 phones on us at all times. And we're constantly checking what's information that's coming into us and seeing if it's something that can be held on till the next day or if it's something that needs to be required immediate notification. Obviously, any of those 2 things are getting immediately phone calls to the communication center of whatever jurisdiction handles that, either where the student lives or where the student goes to school. But again, we're getting a lot of inquiry, especially post 2020. The mental health calls regarding kids has gone way up. Again, talking about money, we do pay rewards. Anything that, so for example, I mentioned the Valley Center case from last week where a gentleman was arrested. I believe it was for several charges, but assault with a deadly weapon, which is a felony. So the tipster that provided that tip is eligible for a reward. We have a board of directors that meets once a month, and they vote on the positive tips from the previous month. So we give them a kind of a recap of an incident, how we helped out, and they vote on a reward. It's anywhere from $50 to $1,000. As I stated earlier, only about half of our rewards that get approved ever get picked up. So we notify the tipster through the software that they're eligible for reward. This is how they get it. So we do notify everybody. And again, only about half ever get picked up. So I think that shows a lot how great the community is here, that they really just want to do the right thing, but they want to be anonymous, which they can't do directly with the police department. And then the last part here is, again, San Diego County Crime Stoppers does, we fundraise throughout the year to keep paying these rewards as we are a separate organization. I talked about the guns already. 30 suicidal students. We just started tracking that a couple of years ago, so that number is actually much, much higher. And again, most of those cases were after school, after hours, on the weekends, where officers had to go directly to a residence of a student and get some kind of mental health intervention. This last slide is more from our president, who couldn't be here today. This is more of a fundraising slide. This is more of a business slide. But we do have, I think most people in here know, we have an upcoming in April, or Enough is Enough luncheon. We honor law enforcement members from agencies throughout the county. So hope to see you all there for that. And again, San Diego County, one of the safest large counties in the United States. Everybody here knows that. And that's my contact information. Does anybody have any questions on the two? Actually, let me cover one thing before I open it up to questions I somehow went over. So when I say the program is anonymous, that is for the law enforcement folks in this room, that is not just a saying, that is true, all the way to the point where sometimes we have to go to court and tell the judge. There are protections that in the evidence code that protect the organizations like ours. But unless somebody puts their name in the tip, they are truly anonymous. They are just a tip number to us. Much to sometimes the detriment of investigators. When I send something off, let's say I send off a tip to the homicide unit and they say, hey, Mark, we know you guys are anonymous, but I really need to talk to this person because the case is going to court next week. We tell them we truly don't know who it is. The way the servers are set up and everything's designed is to protect the tipster's anonymity. So when we tell people it's an anonymous program, it 100% truly is an anonymous program. It's not a marketing thing. So, any questions of me?
So before we get to that point, Officer Herring, we're going to open it up to public comment. If you could just wait with us for one more second. Cammie, do we have any comments or speakers?
Yes, we have one in person and two online. The Javier's, you may have the microphone.
At our age, a mellow one, we could only declare that the presentation is all about winning. to our side. Law enforcement, please, you smile in the outside, but get ready in the inside. Empirical failures of our elected officials is now the burden of law enforcement. That's why we have a large chunk of money to enforce the law, which is to capture the enemy of our society. We support this program, sir. In fact, in our community, retired armed forces personnel, veterans, we have been planning for this to protect our two schools.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Javier. Your
SANDAG.
time has
More to come.
expired. We're going to go ahead and move on to Blair Beekman, and he will be followed by Andrea Ebbing. Blair, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman. Good item, an interesting item.
Blair, hold on. Can you please restart his time?
Hi.
Blair, go ahead. My apologies.
Okay, on your end, it was your fault. Okay. Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you very much for this item. Thank you for its information and presentation. I know of this before, of this program before, but it's given me a reminder of how it works and functions, and I'm overall pretty happy with it. Thank you for its efforts and continued good work. I wanted to quickly comment that I really have a goal to work towards a shared open community process. And yourselves for this meeting and the previous ARGIS presentation, you guys really hustled really fast through it to make sure that there would not be public comment and that it be minimized as much as possible. And I felt that was the wrong approach. We should be talking and sharing openly at this time. And we should be considering practices as those practices of peace, not war. We shouldn't be practicing war and law enforcement and those things as secrets. We need to be open and clear with each other. So good luck in those efforts, and good luck in how to mold that into efficiency as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. We'll now move on to Andrea Ebbing. Andrea, go ahead.
Hi, Andrea Ebbing here. And I mean, believe it or not, I like to think I'm very well informed about how to get information around the county and city, especially when it comes to law enforcement. But I didn't know about Crime Stoppers. I've heard of it, but I didn't know about it. And I actually think it's a great program. I love it. I love the idea. I think there needs to be way more awareness on it because if there were, then people would be reporting crimes and helping with crimes. We should definitely look at replacing things like billboards for Narcan with billboards for Crime Stoppers and kind of like a quick synopsis of what that is. If we could do like a quick one piece, like a one statement, one sentence on what Crime Stoppers is, and encourage people, attract people to use it, that would be wonderful. I know you mentioned one thing about how the news doesn't report things that didn't happen, but they do it all the time for Summer Stephan. So if we can get them to do it for Crime Stoppers and tell like 16 guns relinquished, I'd rather hear about that than the plumber that Summer Stephan was touting about like his workers' comp thing. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And that concludes our public comment.
Thank you, Cami. Do we have any member comments on this slide? Yes, go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thanks for your report, Mark. In regards to the students speaking out, what typical like age group and grades are we targeting here?
We do middle schools. There are some elementary schools that like having our posters and stuff, particularly in Sweetwater Union down in Chula Vista, but we mainly target the middle school and high school level. Middle school mainly because some people think that's kind of too young, but we found that if they know a little bit about the program, then by the time they move on to high school, they're more familiar with it and they're more apt to use it.
Yeah, my wife's an elementary teacher, and I always feel like if you can at least plant some seeds and just let them know that it exists. I remember being a child, my mentor was this Officer McGruff, and he was a wonderful role model for me. And I just remember taking a bite out of a crime. So I was just wondering if like there's some are we associated with that?
I don't wear that outfit.
Okay.
Very similar. I mean, that's kind of in our era. But again, going back to your question, if any school officials throughout the county reach out to us, let's say a principal of an elementary school, we will happily provide them with any information they'd like, material, because again, the mindset is you can slightly get them involved in it with, just being aware of certain things that they're eventually going to run into. Every school throughout the county, no matter, rich, poor, or in between, is going to have issues of some sort. So the more they're aware of it, and then at least give them an avenue to report it, to at least keep their campus safe, is a great thing. So we don't turn down anybody.
Yeah, I just hope we're approaching them at their level so that they can register exactly what we're trying to have them do, as opposed to them thinking that we're ratting their friends.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately with every school tragedy that happens across the country, Parkland and in Florida being the most significant, that mindset really shifted when I first started in crime. When I was first transferred to Crime Stoppers back in 2014, that was kind of a common thing you would hear on this program. I generally don't hear so much anymore. Now there seems to be more of an ownership against post Parkland. There's more of an ownership, I think, of students saying, hey, what can we do? And again, a lot of stuff we deal with, mental health stuff, it's not really criminal in nature, but somebody needs to know about it before it's too late.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief McQueen, I just want you to take note that the retired fire captain sitting next to me had a law enforcement mascot as his role model when he was growing up.
I saw the light.
Saw the light. Okay. It's interesting that we get the notifications on the news regularly about Crime Stoppers looking for, and you mentioned the Valley Center incident, and I watched that several times. But what we don't often get is the follow-up when the arrest is made, thanking Crime Stoppers for the tip that led to the arrest. I think that might encourage more people to engage.
Thank you for bringing that up. You are correct. I'll point out to Sheriff Martinez, the Valley Center folks actually last week did a great job in their press release of a recap of, hey, we got this gentleman. Thank you, community. Thank you, media, and thank you, Crime Stoppers. They mentioned the tips. San Diego PD does that as well. Some other departments, sometimes they don't work with us as much, and things happen so quick that it's a small detail they forget. But we really do appreciate that. What I can't do when I watch the news, and let's say I know we got the information on this shooting that happened in Chula Vista, and it was a big case, got a lot of press, and we're going to pay a reward on it. What I can't do is go to the media with a media release and say, hey, we helped spike the football, and say, hey, we did that, because the last thing we want to do is screw up a case in prosecution. Because as you know, once an arrest is made in a case, it moves on to the DA's office, and then that law enforcement agency is pretty much hands off. It's now in the DA's hands. They're now the spokesperson of that case. So that's one thing that kind of, lack of better term, handcuffs us when it comes to fundraising, because people know that we put requests out there. But as you so eloquently said, they don't really get the end result. Like, hey, did that case get solved? Is this person still wanted? What happened? So that is something we do kind of struggle with, again, because we can't tout our success. We can give you stats, but I can't really give you personal cases that are ongoing right now, because I don't want to screw up the prosecution.
Excellent. We'll punt that over to Chief Duran then to move forward. Supervisor, you had a comment?
I do. I represent Grossmont High School District, second largest in the state, and we also, I think, have the most shootings in the nation. I'd love to promote the Student Speak Out. I think it's brilliant. And are you the point person that my office can work with?
Yes, sir. And we have, and again, going back to changeover, I believe your district has had in recent years past the head of the public safety, I forget what the position's called, but the head of public safety for the district has worked with us in the past, but that's been so long that those people may have moved on. And sometimes they don't let us know. But to answer your question, yes, please reach out to me. And if they need a presentation or they want material, we have done presentations with them in the past.
Because I've been very involved and I didn't know about it. And I'm thinking, I'm involved. Other people, they wouldn't know. And if they did know, they would be all in. And I see great value in this. So thank you for your hard work. I appreciate it.
Yes, the card in your should have my email address attached to your pamphlets. But please have them reach out to me and I will handle it.
Thank you. Any other member comments? Yes, Director.
Hey, Mark, great presentation. I would like to say that Argus has a public-facing webpage. Our private webpage is what the agencies use for the data dissemination and sharing. But we have a public-facing webpage where we have a number of links for positive public safety type of information. If you're amenable or you'd like to talk about it, we would love to talk about maybe hosting or posting, linking to your organization off of our public-facing webpage.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, I got you here, so I'll contact you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other member comments? I thought I saw someone reach for a microphone. Yes, council member.
I was just curious, do you get very many like false reports at the student level at all?
So in general, great question. In general, yes. So we just had our year-end stats. We've been I think we processed over 4,400 tips last year across both programs. Occasionally we do get them, and when we do presentations for your investigators, for your officers, and for the schools, we do mention it's not a perfect system. Just as somebody could call 911 and give bad information, or even a non-emergency line that could give bad information, have a large police response for something that never even happened, like a swatting incident. That does happen. Luckily, so I knock on wood, it's very rare in my time. It is possible somebody could use up a lot of resources if they wanted to, but it's very rare. I would say across both programs. The Crime Stoppers program we have, there are certain folks in certain parts of the county that that there's a repeat thing. So we can see an address they're constantly reporting, and we can look in our history of our software and see that it was already investigated. Because some people will report some pretty interesting things that we can't just sit on. We have to move the information. But if we know that's already been dealt with prior with law enforcement, then again, we don't want to waste their time. So it does happen, but very rarely.
Thank you. Any other member comments? Fantastic. Officer Herring is a great presentation. We really appreciate it. This is an informational item, so no action taken. So we will move on to our last item of the day, item number 6. Director Ray will lead us in a guided conversation regarding different aspects that go into road and freeway closures. This conversation is meant to be educational and forward-looking. We will not be delving into previous incidents or occurrences, and agencies may bring up an item as a reference point, but those references are not the center of our conversation. Will those who are here to take part in this conversation please join Director Ray at the table? Director, are you all set?
No. I like the big boy chairs.
You have one now. I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Public Safety Committee. I want to thank, on behalf of the public safety, thank you all for coming on in to do this panel for us. As you possibly may have heard in the last couple of months, there have been some high level issues regarding traffic closures, lengthy traffic closures, very on the news. And we're not here to investigate any of those kind of things. What we wanted to do was bring a panel of people from different agencies together and just talk. And I'll have a conversation with you, a number of questions we can talk, all of you can answer, one of you can answer, we'll talk back and forth, just to educate the community on what a traffic closure is, why, when, where, how long, concerns, all those things that we have, so that people can maybe hear the things that they never hear when they're sitting in their car or they're reading on the news. I know before I come to work, I always look on my phone to see which is the fastest way because I don't want to be stuck in traffic because I don't give myself 2 hours to get there. So it's just going to be a conversation about traffic closures and things that go behind that. And the way it's going to work is I'll be talking to you for about 20, 25 minutes, 15, 20, 25 minutes. And then when we're finished, we'll open the panel for comments from the public. And after comments from public, we'll open for comments from the Public Safety Committee. Now, if members of the Public Safety Committee during my discussion would like me to refine a question, just please, Cami or Carolina or any of the folks, just send down a written whatever for protocol's sake, and then I'll refine the question, or we can follow up after that in the end there, okay? What I'd like to start doing is just introduce yourselves to the group. And your agency, how long you've been on, where you're working right now, your assignment, so that everybody knows I know who you are, but so everybody out here knows who you are, and the people that may be watching online. And we'll start. Go ahead.
BT Doe. I'm a sheriff's lieutenant. Been on the sheriff's office now for 16 years. Currently the traffic coordinator.
And I'm Commander John Boyce. I'm the patrol commander for the sheriff's office.
Lieutenant Restiria, the Chula Vista Police Department. I'm in charge of the traffic division, special events in the fleet, and I've been with the department for 27.5 years.
Erwin Manansela, Commander, San Diego PD. I oversee patrol operations in the north half of the city. Been with our agency for 22 years.
Thank you very much for being here. And this is an optical illusion, but two of our panel members are also on the panel. If y'all could introduce yourselves.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rick Golding. I'm Assistant Chief of Border Division. Oversee the area offices, CHP area offices within San Diego County.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Captain Reggie Williams. I am the commander of the California Highway Patrol San Diego area office.
Thank you all for being part of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not just gonna, I'll pick somebody if nobody answers, but I'm just gonna throw the question out and then you guys can just kind of go ahead and start answering that way, all right? And feel free, this is a group that likes to listen. We're professional listeners in the way it goes, so just feel free to talk away. The first question would be basically, what types of incidents typically lead to a road closure by law enforcement personnel? I mean, what are the different kinds of things that could happen that would lead to that?
So yeah, there's different types of road closures. There's some that are scheduled, and those are usually go through an authority, say a city authority, they pass an ordinance. That could be a form of road closure, but there's also emergency road closures, which we normally deal with on pretty much a daily basis. And that's stuff like traffic accidents, even natural disasters like fires, gas leaks, tactical operations. So there's a lot of different reasons why a road can be closed.
Thank you.
No, I'd echo the same sentiments. Again, hazards, could be suicidal subjects, on an overpass or a bridge, or police activity. There could be a crime scene that necessitates a road closure, or a variety of hazards or traffic incidents.
Can you tell us what are the kinds, I mean, there are so many things, but what are the kinds of things, like just things that end up in the roadway that you might have to close the road for?
Yeah, so great question. I think many of us are familiar driving on the freeways. We recognize that when our freeways, our highways are impacted, it impacts our community substantially. And one impact on a major roadway can affect and impact all of the roadways within the region. And so we understand the ripple effect. As law enforcement professionals, we live in the community and we see it ourselves. We understand the frustration that the community may feel. And it really varies. It can vary from something as a minor traffic hazard, which we've all seen, a tread from a commercial vehicle in the road, or dropped luggage, something of that sort, to a major incident involving multiple vehicles and major injuries or fatalities. And so it can also result from police activity, from an active threat, an active suspect pursuit, or a critical incident where it involves uses of force or active threats to public safety. So the reasons that we focus on shutting down roads or lanes, we talk about lanes, even a partial closure of roadways, really has to do with if the conditions are met that would basically adversely affect vehicle movement, it's necessary for us to close the road, and there's imminent threat to safety. So those are some of the main considerations, and we really need to check all those boxes when we're thinking about closing the roadways. So California Highway Patrol, we are the first responders on the highway. We're given the authority under vehicle code to have primary jurisdiction on the freeways. With that, our officers are dispatched based upon calls from the public or our own responding and observing an incident, and then initial determinations have to be made by the officers responding to the scene to determine, is there an imminent threat? Does traffic need to be diverted in some way? And is this necessary? And so officers are trained biannually in incident command system, which is the overarching process to really oversee a complex emergency. And when they make that initial assessment, depending on if it's minor, it might be something they can handle, to major is where they start to call additional resources. From the time that that first incident is observed, the clock starts ticking. And if this is a large incident, resources may take time because, as we know, freeway traffic can back up when there's heavy volume. For every 1 minute closed, we can have a mile of backup. And so depending on the time of day, the type of incident, by the time we even get the initial resources to begin assessing and reducing the gravity of the circumstances, it can cause many miles of backup by the time we even get our additional first responders there with the necessary resources to begin removing hazards or reducing the risk so that we can balance public safety with opening that road again. And it's constantly a reasonableness test and a balance to say, is it reasonably safe for us to be able to open closed lanes of traffic versus the imminent threat to the safety of other individuals that weren't involved in this incident? And so it's a constant balancing act. The other thing that we note is that it's not just California Highway Patrol that's involved in this. We work cooperatively with all our allied partners, Caltrans. When we have an incident, we, as the first responders, will notify them, and then they respond and will provide assistance with traffic control, closures, and things like that, because approximately half of all of our line of duty deaths, which we have 232 in the California Highway Patrol, approximately half have been from our officers being killed from traffic incidents and being outside of their vehicle at scenes and then being struck by other motorists. So while we recognize the need not only for safety of the public, this is our work scene, and we have to protect our officers and that officer's safety when we're considering the threats, the imminent threats to safety of the public. We also have to consider the threats of safety to our officers. So those are, hopefully that answers a little bit of the question. The other thing is that there are jurisdictions that overlap, where our local police departments, San Diego PD and all of our other agencies here, where we have, we work in what's called a unified command, where we get together in a command post and we really put our heads together and say, what are all the issues that are affected within the cities, the county, the state, the right, basically the right of ways, and can we work together cooperatively to minimize the impact to the public? However, I will say the very first thing that we always consider is the safety on that scene, and will we have innocent individuals that become victims as a result of something we do? And so we hold that at the very highest regard.
Thank you. So I think most of us have, probably everybody's been stopped on a road or a freeway or not ramp or on-ramp at some time. And some of us have seen when we're going down the freeway, sometimes the road, most of the time the freeway, when the car starts making the big snaky back and forth and slowing down. And if you're in front of that car, you're really happy. And if you're behind that car, you're really not happy when it's coming up. And I guess the question would be, and it could be the freeway, or it could be just a regular 2-lane road, not on the freeway. When do we make the decision to say we're just going to close one lane? We're going to close all the lanes, the whole freeway, just part of the freeway, because we've seen accidents on the left side, on the right side, on the middle side, seen the ladder. You've seen the whole truck where the guy was moving from the swap meet and the whole truck is on the roadway now, or the person that tries to run across the road and doesn't quite make it, or things of that nature. So when would those decisions be made because first you have generally the first responder, just the one officer that shows up, and then a decision has to be made. Are we going to shut it all down, just part of it, or when are we going to do that? So how are those decisions made? When do we determine those kinds of things? And that's for street roads, regular roads, freeways, whatever roads.
That's a good question. So what you were describing there is a traffic break. That's what we consider a traffic break hour. Patrol officers will activate the lights on the vehicle and conduct what kind of appears to be somewhat of a figure eight type deal where they're going to take all lanes to determine what the hazard is ahead. And once they determine what that hazard is and the severity of whatever the incident is, that's going to bring on the determination on whether or not we need to close down 2 lanes, 1 lane, all lanes. And then we determine how long those lanes need to be closed based on the severity of each particular incident. But please, if you do see those lights, stay behind that vehicle for at least 300 yards. So we have a somewhat of a window of safety there, so our guys can assess whatever that situation is. And believe me, we recognize that any closure impacts traffic, and we want to get lanes open as soon as reasonably possible. But first and foremost, we have to consider the safety of, number one, the motoring public, the safety of our officers, and the reasonableness to get those lanes open.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about on the local streets, where the 2 streets, 3 streets, intersections? I know there's lots of things happen on those roads too. When do you guys decide that?
I think it's a similar answer. We're dealing with, where is the threat? How much space do we need to be able to work it? Where are we worried about people getting hurt? But also collection of evidence. And we can always open a lane, but we can't close a lane that we already opened that people are running over the evidence and it's already destroyed. So a lot of times we're going to err on the side of caution, and we're going to start with a more restrictive closure. And then as we assess what's going on and we have a little more time to look at it, we might reduce that closure and open some lanes and allow some room to drive by.
Could y'all explain? I haven't seen this in a long time because I've been out of the business for a while. But I know that sometimes when you have traffic collisions, you'll come out and paint. You'll paint marks on the street and then leave and then come back. And what is that for?
It kind of depends on the case. Usually the paint marks are going to be marks of evidence that we found in the roadway. And for us, in most cases, we are actually going to go out and work that scene and take, we use surveyor's tools and some other tools to make an accurate digital diagram of the collision in the scene itself in order for us to go back and work the case and try and determine what happened and who was at fault. But sometimes, digital evidence corrupts, things happen. We might get back to the station and determine that, hey, there's something wrong with the scene, or this doesn't match, or we're missing something, and we have to go back and redo it. And so we paint those things so that we have the ability to go back. It also highlights some things that might be harder to see on camera or in photographs if we don't have the paint surrounding them and kind of pointing out where they are. In some cases where we have a case that may or may not involve a fatality or may not be at that level, we might paint a scene, or availability, we might paint a scene so that we can reopen it and then come back later when it's less busy and do our diagramming then.
Okay. This question's for the local folks. When you're going to close a road, wherever it may be, how do you determine how far back you're going to go? How much space to give yourself on local streets to close the road so you can do your investigation or handle whatever's going on at that time?
For us, it's again going to be about safety. How far do we need to make it safe? And what are our resources? And then it's also going to be about once we've secured it and locked it down, then we're actually going to take a bigger look and where are the more realistic detours? Are we cutting it off here and the only way for people to get out is to turn down a cul-de-sac and then they're in this neighborhood making U-turns? Or if we take it a block further back, are we now making it to where people can circumvent the collision site and the closure without disrupting the local neighborhood?
Scene. No, that brings up another question in my mind, and it's for any of y'all. When so we made the decision we're going to close the road for whatever the reason may be that's going on. How do we get that information out to the general public, and what are the avenues that we would use to get that information out to the public?
So for the Sheriff's Department, we have a big social media presence. We will normally, if it's something minor, it would normally start off with social media. If it's something major, usually the news outlets will be on scene anyways. We've all seen it. They're fairly quick. And we have good relationships where they know who to call and get information from. So we always say, please look at our social media because that stuff goes out almost instantly now. And that's how most people get their information now anyways. So definitely social media. news outlets. There's also county websites that you can go to. I know San Diego 511 is also a pretty good one. And also all the navigations nowadays. You have peer-to-peer navigations where people put that information out there. They'll say there's police activity, there's road closures, there's a fire or major accident. You'll see it on there pretty quick as well. So definitely those would be the first places I would look at. And if it's a major case, major incident, we will also we'll do a press release as well. And that is more detailed information, more thoroughly thought out information, as opposed to a quick little post or something of this similar nature.
Anybody else?
For San Diego PD, we use very much a similar social media messaging through our public information officer. Depending on the closure, if it's a major closure, we can put out what's called a SIG alert, which will go out, tell the major media outlets, TV and radio, to let the general public know about closure, how long the closure is expected to last, and when the closure is lifted. In the event of a public safety emergency where we're talking about a wildfire, natural disaster, generally in our unified command, we're working with our fire personnel. We can issue what's called a WIA, a wireless emergency alert, that will alert cell phone towers and anyone within a grid area that's going to get evacuated, so that they're aware of road closures, evacuation routes, et cetera.
Thank you. And I think, isn't there a way for people, like I have a cell phone, if I wanted to register for alerts, I could log on and register and something it would come to my phone?
Yes, that's where the WIA comes from. So we put out a WIA alert notification. You'll get that as long as you subscribe to that notification.
All right. Thank you very much. So when the state and the locals are working together, either like it could be the county road, where I worked the CHP many times on the side, and we'll decide who's in charge, what's going on. But who is in charge? I mean, how do you determine who's in charge when you have multiple agencies working the same event?
So for local agencies, and I think CHP, we all are trained in the Federal Incident Command System. We all know what to expect. It's a uniform structure. First person on scene, that's the person that's in charge until he's relieved of a higher authority or someone that holds the jurisdiction in that area. We're all trained in it. We know it's simple language. It could be used for small incidents, large incidents, but it could be the agency that has jurisdiction, or even the first person on scene. If they are the most equipped to handle that incident, they can still be in charge. So it's kind of a uniform structure that we all know that, hey, whoever's on scenes first is in charge, and whoever else, if they don't want to take over, they don't feel equipped to handle the scene, they can yield that authority over to the person that's on scene. And that goes for fire as well. We've gone to scenes where it's a large fire. We know that we're not the experts at fire, so we would usually yield that authority over to a fire captain or a battalion chief that comes on scene.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think that was pretty thorough. It really just depends on the agreements that we have also. CHP, obviously our primary jurisdiction is at state properties and state highways, US routes and interstates. But we also handle traffic related incidents within the county of San Diego. And so that depends on the working relationship and past practice and MOUs, our memorandum of understanding with our local agencies. Just to piggyback on the previous two there, to answer the previous question, CHP has 4 different X accounts that we provide information, real-time information on. And so it's CHP Oceanside, at CHP Oceanside, at CHP El Cajon, at CHP San Diego, and then also CHP Border Communications. So those 4 different sites, depending on your location within the county, we would recommend that members of the community download that app and then allow push notifications. And then we provide updates depending on the circumstances at that scene. Another thing is Caltrans is really good at providing updates, and they have what's called QuickMap, quickmap.dot.ca.gov. So you can download their app and you can see all active traffic incidents from their PIOs and it on a map. So when you're traveling to and from, I know you use Google and other maps, Apple Maps, whatever you use, you could also check the Quick Maps Caltrans app, which will give you real-time information on closures, whether that be construction or emergency incidents.
Thank you. So I know, and you folks know that, like the High Patrol has authority throughout the state and we have, local jurisdictions. But through agreements signed by law enforcement agencies, the local law enforcement folks can go through the Northern California, still have peace officer powers. And we know that people do things in other people's primary jurisdiction, but you still have jurisdiction over that. And so first responders will help and do whatever they can when something comes up. And all of our communication centers can talk to each other in the area. So traffic closure happens, whether it's a ladder in the road, a collision, someone that's hurt, whatever may be going on at the time. And then it starts to take a little while. And we figure out who's in charge and who's not in charge. And the agencies involved will work that out together as we've explained. So then it's starting to take a while. And I was amazed. A minute can be a mile backup. I guess that when you're going really fast, that's a lot of cars that can do that. So when you have a 30-minute, people are starting to find the off roads or find different ways. How do we balance the need to do what you have to do with the event that's happening? Because you have to deal with the safety with if it's injured people in the vehicle and you have to get the jaws of life, you have to do that. I know that some closures are short and some closures are long, but when it starts to protract a bit, how do we start balancing what are the considerations that we do or the decisions that we make to say, okay, we need to either open up a lane or divert traffic or we just have to keep this closed because we're doing this kind of stuff. How are those considerations or decisions made amongst agencies working these things? Anybody can, is that clear enough question?
It's a good question. And I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit as we've been conversing here, but it all just depends on the circumstances that we have in front of us and how much the public is going to be impacted by what you kind of referenced as a long-term closure in a subtle way. We really, really weigh all of these circumstances and whether or not it's feasible to maintain, let's take the freeway, for instance. If it's feasible to open up one lane or two lanes and that particular or those particular lanes of traffic will not impact what we consider is the investigation scene, then we can go ahead and open up those lanes. And we're constantly evaluating that throughout the closure. And as soon as we determine, okay, we've got it kind of isolated to a certain area, so we can open up traffic lanes, we will do that as soon as feasible or as soon as reasonable. But it's a constant evaluation, constant discussions amongst, especially if there's a multifaceted scene where there's multiple agencies. We're all having these discussions during this particular closure to determine the best practice and how we can provide the highest level of service to the public.
Thank you very much. That's a pretty good answer. Thank you. I'm just going to quit. Oh, that was good. That was a good answer. Well, we've looked at why roads are closed, procedure, who's in charge, how you determine when to close, safety. Let's talk about safety considerations. I was a peace officer. I understand that, but there's a lot of people that may be listening or will listen to this meeting at a later time. I know there's a safety for the officers that are involved on the street working, and it's very dangerous. There's a safety for the people that may be in an accident or involved or injured on a bike or whatever may be happening. But the safety, a lot of people that are waiting don't always realize that you're caring for their safety too. And can you guys talk about those things that you're trying in the closure, how it also protects those people that are waiting?
Sure. Did you want to take it?
Sure, I can speak to it. So again, based on my colleague's assessment here, a lot of these are on a case-by-case basis, and we're striking that balance test between the officer safety, the safety of the potential victims involved in a collision or a scene, and the safety of the public. Again, it varies. If it's a crime scene and we're looking for preservation of evidence, hopefully that closure isn't for an extended period of time, only until we can collect the evidence and do partial openings so we can continue on. If it's something more pressing, like a hazardous material spill, fire, that kind of thing, there are certain standoff distances where we have to keep motorists, the general public, away for their general safety. So again, there's not an end-all and be-all answer out here. It's on a case-by-case basis, but we're constantly evaluating with our incident command system and the unified command on when closures can be lifted or partially resumed, that kind of thing. by looking at a variety of factors at a scene.
Now, the question that's on my mind is when roads are closed, I don't want you guys to tell war stories, but I know some people just don't follow the rules of the road and try to make their own pathways or roadways. And do collisions occur when that happens?
Absolutely.
It's not a good idea to make your own road.
Everybody seems to be trying to find their way. You know, when we talk about this, one of the things to remember is a lot of times when these instances first begin, there's minimum personnel at the scene. So they are trying to haphazardly create this closure and create this safety area, often an officer by themselves or maybe two officers in an area where it might really take 3 or 4 to truly close it off or more. And so they're throwing out cones, they're positioning their cars, and it seems like there are a number of people who take that as an opportunity to try and find any way around the barricades that have been placed in front of them to get to where they think they need to go, regardless of any safety measures that we put in place and the closure that we put in place. And so it's really important to look at that. And if it looks like the cops are trying to close the road, there's a reason for it. It's for your safety. It's for the safety of the people over there. And it's really important that you just follow, stop, go where they're trying to direct you and not look for your way around. Cones across one lane doesn't mean drive into the opposite side of traffic. Those are things that really just make it worse and add to the potential safety concerns. Similar to that, every third car that wants to stop and ask what's going on, this is not the time or the place.
Just keep on going.
Just keep on going, because all you're doing is adding to that 30-mile backup behind you. You're taking the officer away from what he's trying to do to direct traffic, and you sitting there telling us, how do I get home? We don't know where you live. You're going to have to kind of work that out on your own, because we just don't have the staff right there at that point, and we're trying to make it better for you. And we need you to work with us.
A good rule of thumb is if the road's open, keep moving. Don't stop.
Where it's open, not through the cones, not around the car, but where they're trying to direct you. Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Before I break for the public, is there anything else you guys would like to say? Closing statements. You'll have a chance to talk to the board after that, but we good? Okay. Thank you very much. At this time, Cami, can we open this up to comments from the public? And thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We do have one in-person public comment and one online. Mr. Javier, are you still here? You are. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thank you, sirs. But pardon us, we want some more. We want the standard, some kind of a signal. Hey, there is a possible gridlock of 5 hours. I-5 Coronado connection. Our layman's question is this: what happened? Why 5 hours? Late news for us, but what if my elders and my fellow brothers and sisters, San Diegans, who are having medical, how do we go about saving more lives than the one attempting to get suicide? That's the point, sir. I expect the motorcyclists would be roaming around and find out who are on emergency equal to that one who is attempting to kill himself or herself. Something like that. We want a standard. Someone who has the microphone, hey, informing everybody what to do. The standard, what to do. Sir, thank you for your inputs. And we...
Thank you, Mr. Javier. We'll now move to our online comments. We'll start with Andrea Ebbing and then move on to Blair Beekman. Andrea, go ahead.
Hey, thank you for the presentation. I like what you guys are doing to keep the road safe. It's going to be a really hard and super dangerous job. And I just noticed a lot of transient or unhoused people are using the highways to walk around on lately. So that might want to be addressed. Another thing is maybe coordinating. If there's 4 CHP X accounts, maybe there should be kind of a central one, because I wouldn't really know to go to Oceanside or, El Cajon. I mean, unless I was in those areas. I almost wonder if there's a way to work with Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze somehow. I don't really know what that would look like. And then the last thing I want to say is there's like a issue on the 125 toll road that I've identified. I'm sitting behind these cars wondering, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? Over and over again. That machine where you put your credit card in, it doesn't tell you to remove your card. I think a lot of people are just waiting and waiting and waiting until it prompts you. So just FYI. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll now move on to Blair Beekman. Blair, go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you a lot for this item. It was informative. Good luck that all our public meetings can work towards such informative ways of working. I wish I could understand more about this, but it was a good, thank you that you've had it today. That's all.
Thank you. And that concludes our public comment.
Thank you, Camby. And interesting that one of the comments had to do with freeways being shut down for mental health issues. And I know that's a great discussion between the chiefs and the sheriff. And right now, there really is no good answer because there simply is no good answer. And like our experts here were talking about, each incident will be dictated by the specific circumstance of that incident. I remember when I was working and you would hear people screaming that, well, you know what, if they want to jump wire, why isn't somebody just shooting them? And that's not the answer either. You know, we're talking about human life. And I think everybody agrees the priority, no matter what the situation is human life. That's priority. Safety of the public, safety of the active participants, the officers, and then any collateral impacts. And I use the word impact sparingly because the question was, have there been accidents as a result of people trying to, avoid the collision and then hitting debris from the original crash? And it does happen. Contraflow, if you're going to attempt that to mitigate some of the backup on a freeway, you need more personnel to navigate that than you do for the investigation, because now you're dealing with on and off ramps that you're going against the flow. So you're also impacting surface streets. So big questions, tough answers, but each circumstance will dictate it and where on the freeway it occurs. If it's fortunate enough to be at an on or off ramp, it might be a little easier to navigate, but if it's in a 2 or 3 mile span in between, it's a tough go. So don't leave home without a bottle of water and maybe a 1 gallon milk jug if you have one, and some snacks. Any member comments? Yes, Vice Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for teeing up this agenda item. I wanted to vent to some people. I think the most beautiful thing about being a retired fire captain and now being in this seat is I can say what I want to say, and I don't have to worry about my chief chewing me out. First and foremost, I just really want to thank those in the CHP and everyone in the fire department that were on scene for this one incident we're kind of falling back to in regards to what caused the catalyst for this agenda. 8 hours of being very focused and ensuring that we were going to try to save a life for 8 hours is one hell of a job to do. So just a reminder to the public who's listening that just imagine if this was your family member and how much attention that we had to take to ensure that that gentleman was able to safely get off. So with my background, I do want to apologize a little bit because of the incident that took place. It is kind of a case study that we can talk about. And I do want to focus more on the freeways and highways as this incident seems to be. Another incident like this will take place, I'm sure, but on a local level, on our normal streets, our city streets, we kind of have the abilities to have better diversion than we do when it comes to the freeways. So one question I definitely want to bring up is this specific location in some areas that we're looking at, like up the 5 and 15 freeways. I'm putting my SANDAG hat on as the board of directors, knowing that there really aren't any other secondary or tertiary routes that we can kind of take people northbound, or am I missing something?
Those are the major thoroughfares. You're correct. There are some side streets and back roads, but as far as major thoroughfares that could take the brunt of the volume, there are none.
Yeah, and then incidences such as like this, where there's an individual involved that ends up taking kind of the span of the freeway, and we have to be patient with. We can't provide a predictability of opening of the freeway as opposed to when I responded to a car fire, I can pretty much assume I've got about 30 or 40 minutes and then you guys can predict when the tow is going to show up and get the car off the freeway. This is an incident where we can't say it could be done in 10 minutes and it could be done in 10 hours. Is this correct to say?
Yeah, that's correct. That's accurate. You know, our scenes that are the most unpredictable are the ones where there's a public safety risk with, you know, the human factor, because it's not predictable. Like you said, when we have, you know, vehicle incidents, even crashes and other things, it becomes much easier because the scene becomes static, and now we know what we're dealing with for gathering resources. When we have an active individual, human factors, and poses of risk to their safety or the safety of other individuals, it's a constant evaluation. It's no longer static, it's an active scene. And that's why a lot of times in our social media, we'll say active police or law enforcement activity, so that people know that it is unpredictable. And we want you to stay away from that location just because we don't know which direction it's going to go. And we have to, and we're going to remain there and do what is necessary through a constant evaluation until it's resolved. And that sometimes can take, like in this incident being spoken of, it can take hours and hours. And it's not something we are looking forward to also. We want to open those roadways up. It's our primary focus is the efficient flow of traffic safely. But we can't get that flow of traffic going if we can't weigh the safety against letting that secondary impact to the convenience of individuals. It can't be the tail that wags the dog.
Yeah, and Chief, I like that you use the phrase unpredictable human behavior, and this is, I'm going to get some pushback maybe from the public for saying this, but when I'd respond onto the 405 freeway, my first goal was to block all traffic and then create a bottleneck, because as soon as the vehicles pass by my fire truck, they want to zip into whatever lane they want to be in, and they don't realize that sometimes I'm trying to confine this box just past where I'm creating the bottleneck. So if I don't slow the traffic down, then I am at risk that they may hit us, they may hit my vehicles, and then they might hit the incident itself. I don't know if that's SOP, but that's the tactic I used back then, just to make sure that everyone was safe. And it was because of the unpredictable human behavior, especially with those that are in traffic. If I'm sitting there, I'm in a rush to get from point A to point B, my emotions start taking over my normal, like, okay, just calm down and you're in traffic. And as soon as I zip by, I'm feeling that rush mode to go forward. So it is one of those stress points that I want to tell the public, even though they don't like hearing it, is that when you see an emergency operation on scene, you have to be very, very careful. And Chief McQueen may probably agree with this. I can predict a fire most of the time and how it's going to behave. I can't predict how people are going to be on the freeways. And so I think there just needs to be a caution in regards to that. And then last but not least, the emergency alerts. I know we're kind of talking about it, but what I do know is sometimes, like the comments that were being said, is that we're limited in regards to being like a true PIO and be able to flush out all this information to people. But is there any way we can really push alerts even more forcefully and just say, hey, there is an incident that is taking place in this region, and then be able to also send the alert saying it's been cleared? Or is this something that's extremely difficult to do, like on a county or statewide?
So our WIA actually does allow us to push that out and also push out when it finishes. And we do that. And I know most agencies at the local level does do that. As soon as it's done, it's just as easy as when we send it out. We send out the same notification, this incident is over.
Are there like standards in when we do? Is there like a threshold point and we say, okay, we are going to do this? Or is it just like kind of arbitrary? Is this subjective?
No, so there is a point when the incident commander say of a large scene. That's usually when we would send those out, because usually the large scenes take a lot more time, and we will need to evacuate. We'll have the incident commander make that decision. Usually he's advised and he has his counsel there to say, yes, the scene is safe and secure, because we have a duty to protect the public for things seen and unseen. Things that may look benign, like fires, you don't see smoke anymore. You think that the fire is out, but in fact, there might be some other things going on, like down fire lines, gas leaks that the public may not know.
Got it. I think at some point, like our threshold may be a little bit more sensitive these days in regards to getting communication out. We seem to be living in a time that's far more fast paced than we've ever experienced before. And so like, if your Amazon Prime doesn't show up in 2 days, you throw a fit. And I feel like nowadays, if it's going to take you longer to get home, sometimes it's easier to just be able to provide that alert with a little bit less threshold, but also the opportunity to hurry up and clear that call and say, hey, okay, this incident is now clear. You're free to go up to 5 or 15. Just food for thought, unless there's.
Yeah, I think all the alerts that are going out, the general public has to either have the app downloaded on their phone. And I think what you're kind of maybe alluding to is something similar to what would be an Amber Alert, a Silver Alert, or something like that. And we don't have anything readily available at this particular time. Although I think some discussions are being had, but we don't have anything that just automatically would push out that information to the public, regardless if you have an app downloaded or not. If you have a cell phone, you're going to get an alert for an Amber Alert if you're in the general area, correct? But that's not something that we have for just your incidents that occur that maybe cause a roadway closure. I think that the alert system that they are using right now is, I still have to have that application downloaded on my phone in order to receive that alert. The alert may automatically be pushed out, but it only goes to the individuals who have the app installed. But we're always evaluating and searching for ways to improve. These are, ideas that we can have further discussions on and filter up and see if we can develop some type of avenue to have a emergency traffic alert that would go out to regions that are impacted by what would be a long-term closure. So not a bad idea at all, and something I think deserves further discussion.
Yeah, so we have the capability to do it. We just, through policy, cannot do it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Legislation has to be passed for like Amber Alert and other alerts that have been provided. One consideration on the other side is overabundance of alerts can create almost like insensitivity to it, where over alerting on everything can create problems. And so there have been studies on this. I'm not an expert on that, but I know that has been voiced as a concern, is that if everything is alert, at some point nothing becomes an alert. And so and also with active scenes, it's hard because we don't know the duration of those. Whereas with a static scene, it's very easy to say estimated time of opening the roadway or lanes would be 30 minutes, an hour, something like that. But when we have an active scene, we have no estimate because it could go on for a long time. And so it would be hard to provide that to the community besides active police scene.
Gotcha. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Any other member comments? Okay, I'm sorry, who do I? Yeah, before we adjourn, I'm going to
jump in real quick. On behalf of all the fire agencies in San Diego, we appreciate the valued relationship we have with all law enforcement. This is one of those things where it is a choreography. Sometimes it's law enforcement driven and fire takes a back seat. And sometimes it's fire driven and law enforcement takes a back seat. But when it comes to the safety on the highways, the freeways, your city streets, just like Co-Chair Shin had mentioned, we will use Big Red to block an entire intersection, because sometimes it does take law enforcement a while to get there. But our biggest thing is to make sure that we as first responders can actually do our job without getting hurt or killed on an incident. And then to provide the continued safety by using our engines. So that is one of our protocols. When we have to go on the freeway, we'll actually send 2 engines. One becomes a blocker, the other one becomes operations, whether it's extrication or something like that. But we will move the battalion chief, the ambulance for patient loading, any other law enforcement that needs to come in to go beyond our engines so that that becomes the new K railing to protect our box that we can actually work in. But the biggest thing is that respect card. Before we clear, our fire guys are asked to reach out to our law enforcement and say, hey, do you guys still need us before we leave? Because Big Red does actually add a lot of protection. Several engines in San Diego County over the past recent years have been clipped. One of the things is the flashing lights at nighttime. DUIs draws them like flies to a bug zapper. It just happens to be an engine that gets hit. But our biggest thing is to make sure everybody goes home, and that is both public and the safety at the end of the day or into the night. Caltrans, man, my heart goes out to those folks. Nobody, it seems like, has respect for them when they're trying to do their job out there. But yeah, it's a relationship, and we totally value that. I appreciate it.
Signboards, whether portable or the fixed overhead, are very valuable. My commute is north on 15, and I'll see signs alerting me to closures as far north as State Route 60. So if you're going beyond past Temecula, even, because a lot of commuters will go that route, they'll know what to expect. And so then you can plan to take an alternate route, surface streets. Any other member comments? Chief, did you have anything else you want to add? Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, he gave me the floor. So we wanted to recognize CAL FIRE Riverside Unit had Daniel Cook. He's a fire engineer. And recently he passed away from a cardiac event during an early morning structure fire. So January 20th, which is Monday, is actually his services at 1300 up in Riverside. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Chief. We bear in mind that we also had a Maricosta police officer, 29-year-old, and I don't want to misstate his name, Officer Gustavo Barroso, 29-year-old Mr. Maricosta College PD, passed away in his sleep, 29 years old. So no further information on that, but we're all human. These things happen, but you live a life of danger. You put yourself in peril, and we do appreciate everything. And Chief Goulding, thanks for coming in and being on the hot seat. Captain Williams is used to it, but everyone else, thank you so much for the panelists. And Director Ray, great job. Very, very insightful, very helpful. If we have no further comments, then by my notes, our next Public Safety Committee meeting is scheduled for the 20th of February, 1 o'clock, 1300 for those inclined. And with that, we will be adjourned.